So, as I've already mentioned, this first symbol is actually my personal chart from my personal blood sugar measuring book, which I was using when I first started taking insulin. Taking 56 units of insulin when I started working on myself, and then zero about 9 months later when I healed myself. But what's more pertinent for this discussion is the stuff on the bottom where it says doctor patient lab interaction, and more importantly, doctor patient, because a lot of these protocols, it's not working on yourself instead of a doctor. It's really finding the right doctor first to really help you on your journey, to help you with your diagnosis, as I told you. You always need a doctor to write prescriptions. It can be bad or good depending on how much you're interacting with the doctor. So one of the free perks I'm giving you now, which is invaluable for anyone out there, even, healthy athletes. This is how I used to have people find doctors and then create a network for myself, is two ways. One, I used to have them take a special type of C-peptide test. Now, C-peptide represents how much insulin you're actually producing. A lot of times it may be acting as 50%, you're only producing 20% and you're burning yourself out. What I used to like to do, if people had any degree of insulin left, is have them do one of these C-peptide tests and then drink either a pint of orange juice or a pint of Coke and wait 20 minutes and then get another C-peptide, because I want to see how much extra insulin that burst of sugar stimulated. Because a lot of times you have preformed insulin, which if you give them a sugar burst, they'll burn themselves out, but they still capable of regenerating. So it tells you what type of resiliency that is. Now, most doctors, they don't even do one C-peptide test, which is, I think, malpractice, even for people less than 10% of their insulin. But two, they have to really be willing to work with these people, because even if you're in a state where you can get this test done without a doctor, it's good to go to the doctor and make him write you a prescription for it, because then you see, is this a doctor that's going to be working for you? And sometimes, they won't do it, but other times I've actually had doctors call me and ask me how to facilitate the testing. That's when you know you have a good doctor. So that's part of this thing is, this is, again, diagnosis, treatment, ground up, first step. Either find a good doctor, or if you're in a state where you can do your own testing and you don't necessarily need prescriptions, you can do this. But either way, it's always good to have that. So that's the first symbol. Second symbol you see is this Xerox from a brochure I used to do. And I used to get paid by insurance companies to teach people how to see. They used to go through a vision clinic, which used to do orthokeratology, which means reshaping the lenses of your eye with contact lenses, and they would send them to me for muscle stuff. But I used to eventually do deep emotional stuff, and only two of the people that came here actually did the orthokeratology. The rest used to actually try and heal the vision. And I was covered by insurance companies. So even this is like 30 years ago. So even back then, I was doing unique stuff, working with insurance companies, clinics, hospitals, working with this type of treatment of diseases, which in this case was eye structure. You see also, there's a thing about athletes in there, talking about emotional release and people jumping higher. So at the same time, I was working with a lot of lawyers in Century City, teaching them how to heal their vision while increasing their tennis game by working with body movement. So doing both. And then my last one was a woman named Louise Hay, when she was just becoming famous. She wrote a lot of books about spiritual healing and so forth, and she used to have big age groups. And I used to be the body worker and healer to the healers. So that was 30 years ago. I was already doing that type of stuff. And I trained with a lot of masters. I learned a lot of stuff, and then I stopped doing healing work in about, I guess when I was about 45. I'm 63 now. So that's what that represents. Now, the cool thing, which is on some of the pictures below, is what this third symbol represents. This is me in Tahoe. It's a recreation of what I did right before I went into coma. I had, like I said, had some 150-year-old ginseng and had done such intense Tai Chi. And then when I was healing myself, just do the same thing, And if I'm working with patients, do this for a while. And then I put a little acupuncture needle into 5 points, use my breath pattern to get inside them, and then watch them do it again, and then test its effect on blood sugar. So I was doing this if you see by this picture, 8 hours a day. I was in toilet. That's all I was doing. I had so much energy. Was doing medical qigong. Had so much energy that even though I had almost no insulin, I was still functioning. And that's what kept me alive through 13 days of coma. I had so much energy running up and down through the vagus nerve that even though the tissue was dying, I stayed alive, and I had so much energy in my organs that they were not really that badly damaged. The kidney, slight hole, but I regenerated it pretty quick. So I was so far gone, but that also gave me the ability to heal myself. And that's why so much of this knowledge is amazing, because went about as far as you can go and still be alive, had the resources and the knowledge, and this such a simple exercise, well, it goes on so many different levels. Just general calmness and sinking to the kidney point, and then withdrawing your consciousness from physical into bioenergetic flows, third eye stuff. So many deep levels. You can go as far as you want. Just the beginning level, focusing on the kidney energy, get your kidneys more focused. But that's why this knowledge, took someone like me, a master healer, God putting into the worst possible coma you could be, and like 1 in a billion surviving, and then, healing and recording it and datafying it and refining it. So that's sort of a beautiful gig. So the next symbol is this tree, and every one of these globes represents, a whole interactive universe. That's, a lot of the venture capital money, that's where it goes, is to really build it out. But I have definitely some of the top internet architects in the world. So let's just take 3. You see insulin rhythm, such an important concept for anyone, even for people not taking insulin. Each person has their own rhythm. How fast does insulin respond? If you're taking insulin, this is like night and day in terms of understanding this concept. If you're regenerating, it gets you to be so precise. If you really want to get to advanced levels, you get precise understanding your insulin rhythm. You can inject yourself with 1.5 units of insulin, do some intense anaerobic exercise, and use that insulin as a growth hormone to regenerate your tissue. Most people, even people who've been taking insulin for years, don't understand that insulin's second job is to digest food. Its first job is as a growth hormone. So there are ways of increasing, insulin growth factor, but you have to balance antibody response. This is some of the stuff you learn here. And again, interactively, it would be hooked up with your doctor. Amazing things you can learn. And again, you can go from just really knowing how to utilize your insulin properly or to measure, which is your bottom level, to using small units as a homeopathic growth hormone. Any level you want. So that's one of these lobes. Second little sphere you see here is adult stem cells. And yes, I did use adult stem cells to heal myself. Part of what I learned is how to increase the effectiveness of adult stem cells. Later on, I learned how to actually turn neutral cells into organ-specific adult cells. Work with myself, and most of the people that I healed that were really classic diabetic ones, we did work with their adult stem cells in different ways. And some of the papers I show people who are investors are me at major universities where they actually translated a lot of my research on this into protocols that will actually be done in real-time trials. So I've had a lot of vetting on some of the stuff I do, this is not the proper place, but any investors, eventually I will go into that also. It's a pretty amazing universe. And this is stuff that even if it doesn't fan out in the big way, this is stuff I would talk to you about in emails when I start rolling this out. Wouldn't be as intense and incredible as some of the other stuff I've done in this level, but that is part of this. Pretty amazing thing even for people that are regenerating other type of organs. Same principle. Third sphere you see here is political TV, and this is a real beauty. One of the things I learned, because I stopped working with people, and then 9 years later I'm working with other diabetic conditions, and the insulin vial that used to cost $60 when I needed to work with myself, now it's over 400, 360 to 440. And blood meter strips that used to cost maybe $30 per 100, now a lot of times for the good ones are 110 for those. So the prices have gone up even though the cost of the product has gone down. So when I talk about political TV, it's like we start out small here, and then I go to venture capitalists, and then I go to corporate integration. And then when there's data actually, and there's people, a network of people that are healing, that we have power because you're hooked up to a reality where we're healing, then it's time to take that power. And power to me is doing good and making money by doing a lot of good for people. I will take that. You could reduce the premiums probably on everyone by 15% if you just stop this alone. So I would, be honored then at that point to take and be the spokesman for the vast network of people behind me. And this gives you power. This is how you affect real medical change. Don't leave it to the politicians. This is what the internet revolution is really about. So this is part of political TV, and it creates value because then people start looking into the other stuff you're doing. Where are these people coming from? So even then, it's a commercial reality. But I do consider this the end part. One real-time thing where I'm actually healing a lot of people real-time. That's the last time I do healing. And then I like the network just to take over. And eventually, that's how I envision myself. You people who are starting now, that I get power through this corporate network I started up, that then I can be that spokesman. That is how I look at myself. Someone like me could really effect major medical reform, because now it's just about which different people we give the money to. My thing, it's about creating different paradigms and different protocols. So this is this symbol. There's hundreds of these pathways. A lot of the money from corporate venture capitalists goes to developing some of these universes into more specific internet architecture. And the fifth one we see here is my favorite. This is a pictorial representation of what you see here in the corner. And this represents some of the more advanced techniques. And this is about emotional release and tissue. It's about pushing the mental barrier between, your feelings, your spirit, and your physical structure. It's very intense and very primal. And I think maybe only about 15% of the people that I would work with want to go to that level, even when they're working with me. But you go primal like that, and then you see the real changes sometimes in mitochondrial, output in organ function, and you really start understanding the correlation between genetic structure, spiritual structure, emotional structure. And this is something that the people who maybe this is like a boot camp. We're getting ready to climb a mountain. Some people will stay at the first two levels. Use of insulin, herbal stuff, diet reality, incredible diet, glycemic reality. Athletes may stop athletic reality. But the real beauty about this is you can go further. And for those that really want to trip, I can take you very far on this, because this is how I like to travel. Like I said, this little movement is a universe inside of yourself, both on a Tai Chi level, on a pranic level, on a yogic level, and on an emotional bioenergetics level, even talking about the emotional states. I just as soon do that with myself. But I'm coming down, I'm leading certain people on a journey. They can get off wherever they want. But the beauty about this is, like I said in the first video, create signposts. And so as people heal themselves, it'll start getting filtered down. And this will have hopefully a major effect on some of the medical approaches to all kinds of antibody diseases. So these are the 5 symbols. Once again, I hope this piques your interest enough to give some monetary support if you can afford it. Like I said, though, anyone who puts 5 cents in to show some support. And hopefully, I'm ready to go in about a month, and little wind push over there. And hopefully soon, within 9 months, it's spread. Not just in this country. I have it set up, if the money flows through it, ready to go in more than just this country. So here's hoping people see out there as much God as I feel I'm projecting outward to you.